You know, if you've ever dreamed of starting your own thing, or heck, even if you just want to make smarter decisions in life, you've got to understand cost. It is, without a doubt, the fundamental language of business. So today, we're going to get fluent. Let's dive in. To make this all a bit less, abstract, let's follow the story of an entrepreneur. We'll call her Maya, her dream to open her very own artisanal bakery. But as she's about to find out, the real cost of that dream is way more than just dollars and cents. All right, so Maya's ready to go, but her first step isn't buying flour. It's not even finding the perfect little shop. Nope. Her first step is getting her head around the one core economic idea that's going to shape every single choice she makes from this moment on. So, what are we really talking about here? At its most basic level, cost is just everything a business has to spend to get its product into a customer's hands. For Maya, that means the rent, the electricity, the wages, the sugar, the cute little boxes for her cupcakes. It's the whole shebang. It's the total price tag for her entire operation. Now, as Maya starts to actually build this bakery, she learns something really fast. Not all costs are created equal. It turns out every single choice she makes comes with a different kind of cost, and each one plays by its own set of rules. Okay, her first big purchase, a fancy new oven. The $5,000 she pays for it, that's the actual cost. It's right there on her statement, easy to see. But here's the tricky part, the hidden cost, the opportunity cost. What was the next best thing she could have done with that $5,000? Maybe she could have run a marketing campaign that would have brought in 6,000 in new sales. That potential 6 grand she missed out on, that's the opportunity cost. It's invisible, but it is absolutely real. Next up, Maya has to get her head around two more huge categories. First, her monthly rent. That's a fixed cost. It doesn't matter if she sells one croissant or 1,000. That rent check is the exact same amount. But the flour, the sugar, the butter, those are variable costs. The more cake she bakes, the more ingredients she has to buy. Simple as that. They move up and down with her production. So, in her first month, Maya drops $500 on these beautiful, professionally printed flyers. But crickets, almost no one comes in. That $500 she spent, it's now what we call a sunk cost. It's gone. Poof. And there's no getting it back, no matter what she does next. And this is so important. The fact that she already spent $500 should have absolutely zero influence on whether she spends another $500. That money is in the past. It's done. Smart business decisions are always about the future, not about throwing good money after bad to try and justify a past mistake. This is probably one of the hardest lessons for any entrepreneur to learn. All right, let's hit the fast forward button. Maya's bakery is a hit. People are lining up down the block for her cakes. So now she's thinking bigger, maybe a second location, a delivery service. But to grow the smart way, she can't just wing it. She needs a whole new set of tools to really understand her costs. See, to figure out if expanding is a good idea, just knowing her total cost isn't enough. She needs to know how efficient her bakery is. And that's where these other two numbers come in. Average cost tells her how much each individual cake costs to make on average. And marginal cost, well, that one's the secret weapon. It tells her the precise cost of making just one more. This is how she'll know if getting bigger will actually make her more money. Before we get to any of the fancy graphs, it all starts right here with a simple table. A business owner like Maya just tracks her output, how many cakes she's baking, and watches how her costs change. You can see her fixed cost is stuck at 40 bucks. But as she bakes more cakes, her variable costs and, of course, her total costs start climbing. Okay, now let's turn that boring table into something we can actually see. This graph tells the story. The fixed cost, that's FC, is just a flat line, right? It never changes. The variable cost, VC, starts at 0 and climbs steadily. And that total cost curve, the TC, it's literally just the variable cost curve, but starting higher up because we've added the fixed costs on top. It's the perfect picture of that simple formula. Total cost equals fixed costs plus variable costs. Now, from that one simple graph, we can actually build a super powerful dashboard of curves. And these aren't just for economists in a lecture hall. For Maya, these graphs are like a real-time dashboard telling her the story of her bakery's efficiency. So first up is her average fixed cost. Remember that expensive oven she bought? Well, if she only bakes one cake, that single lonely cake has to bear the entire cost of the oven. But as she starts baking hundreds of cakes, that big cost gets spread out over all of them. So the fixed cost per cake gets smaller and smaller. That's why this curve is always heading down. But the average variable cost curve, it tells a totally different story. It's shaped like a U. Why? Well, at first, as Maya and her team get into a groove, they get more efficient and the cost per cake actually goes down. But eventually, the kitchen gets crowded, the ovens are full, people are bumping into each other, and what economists call diminishing return sets in. It starts to cost a little more to produce each extra cake. And that brings us to the most important number for any business owner making a decision: marginal cost. This one is the real game changer. It answers one simple, powerful question: how much will it cost me to bake just one more cake? Not the average, but the specific exact cost of the very next unit of the line. And here it is. This is where it all comes together on the master dashboard. The big U-shaped curve is the average cost curve. It's basically the average fixed and average variable costs all added together. Now, watch what happens when we lay the marginal cost curve on top. It cuts right through the average cost curve at its absolute lowest point. See that spot? Point C, that intersection, that's the magic number. It is the bakery's sweet spot. It's the point of maximum efficiency, where Maya is making each product for the lowest possible average cost. So, what does this all mean for Maya? It means she's not just running on passion and guesswork anymore. She's empowered. She can now make huge strategic decisions about her business based on a crystal clear understanding of its financial DNA. The lessons from Maya's bakery really apply to anything. Remember, every time you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. That's opportunity cost. Know the difference between your stable fixed costs and your flexible variable costs. And please, learn to ignore sunk costs. They are a trap. And finally, use these curves to find your own operational sweet spot. And that really leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? This stuff isn't just for businesses. Think about it. What's the marginal cost of watching one more episode on Netflix tonight? It's not just a few cents of electricity, it's the 30 minutes of sleep you're not getting or the book you're not reading. Once you start thinking about costs, you start making better choices everywhere.